Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is all about preparation on a real chessboard with no digital interface. So now you are able to understand the Sicilian Najdorf white move 6 f3, following by a 15-move line of a strong preparation. Let's jump right into it. White opens with the king's pawn, controls the center, the f5 and d5 squares, and opens up this long diagonal to the bishop. c5, the characteristic move of the Sicilian defense, controls d4 and black guarantees that the position will become imbalanced, looking to exchange the c-pawn, a side pawn, for a central pawn of white, the d-pawn, looking forward for a long-term positional advantage of having two central pawns against one. In the meantime, white goes for knight f3, developing the knight towards the center, controls e5 and d4. d6 stops white from pushing the e5 pawn, and also opens up this long diagonal for the bishop. And white goes d4. White wants to open up the center and exchange the central pawn for the c-pawn. This will give activity of the white pieces and quick development. C takes d4. Get the two central pawns versus one, and could fight for more central presence later on. Knight takes d4, takes back the pawn and places his knight in the center of the board, controlling these many good squares. Knight f6 develops the knight toward the center and attacks the pawn on e4, that is hanging for the moment. Here comes knight c3, defends the e4 pawn and develops another piece. White is developing for both king and queen sides. Black goes for a6, mainly to prevent the knight to go to b5. And also prepares b5 and expand on the queen side. f3, there you have it. Creates a strong pawn chain defending the e4 and controls the g4 square. Black goes for e5, fighting the center with tempo, kicking the knight, creating a strong center which allows to expand on the queen side later on. Knight b3, retreating the knight to a good square, controlling a5 and c5. Black goes for bishop e6, develops the bishop to this important diagonal, controlling especially the d4 and c4 squares, also reinforcing the presence on the center. Bishop e3 develops another piece on the queen side and controls this beautiful diagonal. This allows the typical maneuver to put his queen on d2, building a strong battery with the bishop on this diagonal, sometimes just piling up with the rook on the d file, or if white wants can do long castle. On the right moment, h5. If white decides to attack on the king side with g4, black can take on g4 and activate his rook this way. With this move, knight d5, white threatens to do a tactic and win a rook by playing bishop b6, threatening the queen, then playing knight c7, making a double attack to the king and the rook. That's why black decides to take the knight on d5 and stops the threat. And naturally, we will see white taking back the piece with pawn to d5. Black decides to take the knight with his own bishop so they can pressure the isolated pawn with the knight on f6 and maybe thinking about to bring the other knight to d7 then to b6 to reinforce the pressure on the pawn on d5. Knight b d7. develops another piece from the queen side toward the center, keeping an eye on the c5 square, but could just follow the plan that we have already mentioned. Queen d2. Now white has this strong battery on this beautiful diagonal. Other options here for white will be playing c4 to support d5 or simply bishop e2. Beautiful move and short castle's next move. Black follows up with g6, builds this pawn chain and makes way to the dark square bishop on this diagonal so we can develop this side and defend this king later on. Bishop e2, bringing the last piece into the game and at the same time is looking to this diagonal. Support the g4 break if white decides to long castle, plan A, and plan B, that also simply prepares to castle and put his king on safety. In the meantime, black goes for bishop g7, also prepares to castle. Now, how white will continue here? Plan A, long castle and attack from the king side, or plan B, short castle and attack from the queen side, grabbing space on the queen side. We have plan B, put his king on safety with short castle and prepares for the battle on the queen side on the dark squares. Plan A will be good too. B6, defending A5, avoiding the knight to enter in the position, and defends also C5, preparing knight C5 with a good option to follow up. Rook A to D1, centralizing his rook and fortifies D5. This is a well-known theory, guys, already played out hundreds of times before. Black castled it out and get ready for the battle on the middle game. Black has his king well defended by this pawn chain and these two pieces. And white goes h4, trying to go to destabilize these two pawns and the dark squares, and later infiltrate in the position with other pieces. Rook e8, centralizing his rook, looking to support e4 advance, and also support a knight on a very good square e5, on the middle of the board controlling many good squares. This was a training, instructive and educational content that allows you to learn how to play this strong preparation. By following a 50-move line, you stay focused on that variation from start to finish, avoiding getting lost in excessive nuances. So you reach the end of this line with greater clarity. This preparation is very accurate because most of the moves are theory, the well-known moves played hundreds of times before, and then a few moves suggested by the computer. This content is important to you, not only to know the moves of this variant and memorize them, but to understand the line and the ideas behind. So the challenge for you to learn and improve is this great opportunity to follow these 4 steps. Comment your thoughts below. Suggest a new opening for me to do another strong preparation for you. Oh, and just subscribe to be part of this community. There is a lot of high quality preparation coming your way. A huge and sincere thank you to you.